What is going on? The CloverTac crew and the Ghost Squad. Welcome to the Ghost and Clover Podcast, powered by our good friends over at European American Army, or EAA. We are live, as always, on YouTube, streamed to over 150 countries worldwide. My name is Trey with Ghost Tactical, and I will be your captain on today's magical sleigh ride. Our co-pilot will be coming here in a second. We'll bring Clover in a minute. But before we do, we want to remind everybody, if you are in the live chat, please go ahead and say something. If you say anything in the chat at all, it does get you eligible to be picked for the random viewer topic. That is segment 3. If you're new to the podcast, then what happens basically is this is a train wreck. Let's just be honest about it. But each of us bring a topic that we discuss for 10 or 15 minutes, and neither one of us knows the topics ahead of time, so it's kind of a surprise to all of us at once. And then we have the viewer topic brought to you by our friends at Taurus. But like I said, we're going to bring Clover in here, and if you are listening to this in replay or in podcast, make sure that you leave us a comment, let us know what you think. More importantly, we invite you to join us for the live stream, and that allows you to interact with the crowd and with us live. But more importantly, once again, it gets you eligible for the viewer topic. So let's bring in our shotgun rider, if you will. What's up, Clove?
Hey there. Hi there. Ho, ho, ho there.
Ho, ho, ho there. Yes, sir. We are on the magical sleigh ride tonight, you know.
So I had a thought.
Don't hurt yourself.
So, well, we're going to double up for next week.
We are, yeah.
So finish out the year with this particular podcast. What if we doubled the viewer segment next week? You got a problem with that? Like,
I got no problem with that whatsoever. I had no problem with that. Hell, we could do all 3 segments viewer driven if you wanted to. Do something different for the last one.
I like that one even better.
How about that? Let's do that.
That's less work for us, man.
You know, I'm not very smart. People that know me know that. And for me to come up with topics is kind of difficult sometimes. So.
But when it's getting out of work, you're right there with it. I hear you.
Darn straight.
Yeah, I
think that'd be fun for the last one of season 1. It's been a great season, by the way. I know that it's kind of crazy. This is episode number 21, and next week will be episode number 22, and then we'll take a hiatus for a month or so and come back. But yeah, it's for season 1, man. It's kind of strange. This is about a year ago when we started to do this actual, like, as a dedicated podcast, and a year later, it's been a fun ride. I've enjoyed it. How about you?
Yeah, it just wasn't official until.
Well, this year we've had the Ghost and Clover stuff for 5 years. We just didn't actually create an actual podcast and go get sponsorships and all that stuff.
Right. You know, we gotta say thanks again, obviously, to EAA and Taurus for
absolutely.
Man, they didn't even flinch at pulling the trigger on it, which
never even flinched. Amazing. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll see. They may want to come back. You never know. With the train wreck this is, the funny thing is the good people over at EAA, they are warped and have all of them are warped and have sick sense of humor, kind of like we do. So it kind of goes along great with us. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think they realize the value. I mean, come on. I mean, you don't have, like, Coca-Cola advertises on places other than soft drink podcasts and food channels, right? Like,
absolutely.
So, why wouldn't somebody be okay with, a variety hour?
A podcast about nothing, if you will.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah.
Well, and for those that are out there that might be listening to this podcast for the first time and like, what the hell is going on? We started doing the Ghost and Clover kind of one-off podcast 6 years ago, just having fun and talking about stuff that we normally talk about on the phone, which is very little gun stuff normally. And we've always joked about this, guys. We always said, we should have recorded that phone call. That would have been a great podcast.
True.
So when we decided to do this, we're like, you know what? Do we talk guns? Yeah, sure, we talk guns. But that's not the driving force of this. And a lot of it is because guns aren't the only driving force in either one of our lives. So we have other interests, and We like talking about different things, and so I think that's enjoyable. I think the feedback that I've gotten from everyone, I don't know for you, have enjoyed the podcast this year, and next year it'll only get better. We'll probably come up with some new, different, fun things to do, but I've enjoyed it myself.
Yeah, definitely. Yep,
without a doubt. So, speaking of the first topic, I believe this one is yours, my friend.
So we're going to try to get through this one in 15 minutes.
Uh-oh.
And I contemplated, could we do it? And I think we can pull it off. I think we can pull it off. I want to go sports ball. I want to go NFL.
Okay.
I want to go basically best all-time in their prime offense lineup, best all-time in their prime defense lineup. Now, here's the way I want to do this. Since this is my topic.
Yeah.
And I've had obviously a little bit of thought into the subject.
Yes, you have.
Here's what I want to do. I want each of us to pick whether it's your all-time offense or all-time defense. I'm going to let you choose which one, if you're going offense or defense.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go whichever one you stick me with or is left over. I'm going to go first. That way you've got a little time and you know what.
Now, the people that you pick are off the board. Are they? So it's a draft?
Will be. Well, they're going to be because we're on totally different sides of the football.
Oh, okay. So you're picking offense or defense, and I'm picking. We're not both picking offense and defenses.
Right.
Interesting. Right. Okay, I'm in. I'm in. Yeah.
So let's set up before you choose whether you want offense or defense. We're going to go old school smash mouth. What about thinking formation? So we're going to go quarterback, fullback, halfback, center, guards, tackles, tight end, 2 receivers for offense.
So two backs, 2 receivers, 1 tight end.
Right. On offense. Defense, we will have the tackles, the ends, 3 linebacker configuration.
Okay, so 4-3. A 4-3. Okay, perfect. Okay. Got it.
So with that in mind, do you want offense or defense?
Man, I don't care. I'm going to let you go first, and you pick whichever one you want. How about that? I'm good either way. Either way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go defense. I'm going to go, you know, best offense is a good defense, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm going to go defense. And we'll see if you could put together something that can crack my defense.
Okay.
So let's start out with the line.
Okay.
Let's talk tackles. It's a very defensive tackle. Who talks about a defensive tackle? I'm gonna go Cortez Kennedy. And let me back up and say whether they're on the right side of the field or the left side of the field is sort of irrelevant.
Sure, yeah.
Let me also back up and say that as the coach, the GM, the whatever, if you want to substitute a player that doesn't traditionally play a position for a position, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Right? All right.
So
this way, I don't have to pick like a left tackle and a right tackle for offense. I can just pick 2 tackles, regardless of if they played left or right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you wanted to kick, let's say a receiver to tight end or some weird.
Sure. No, I'll go with the 1 tight end.
Or a tackle to a guard or a guard to a tackle. That would be.
Yeah. Okay. So as long as they're linemen, it doesn't matter if they were guards or tackles.
More or less. No. I mean, I don't care. You're not going to put a receiver in a lineman position or a lineman in a receiver position. That'd be stupid. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I got you.
Anyway, so tackles, defensive tackles. I go Cortez Kennedy and Warren Sapp.
I can't argue either one of those.
I think that's where I go tackle. That brings us to the defensive ends. And I know that you're probably going to be heavy in the quarterback receiver game because there's so many good ones.
It's gonna kill me because I mean,
So
how do you choose just one, right?
I
It's like
know,
linebackers for you. How are you gonna choose just 3 linebackers?
Oh,
I know one of them. I guarantee I know one of them.
I've got about 5 in the
Yeah,
Rolodex, and it's like right now I'm kind of weighing, but I'm leaning toward 3, so I think we'll get there and why.
right.
Um, I know you're probably going to be gunning in the offense, so it definitely needs some pressure.
Yep. Yep.
And you go with some really high end sack leaders, right?
Yep.
I think I go Reggie White on one side and Bruce Smith
Ooh,
on the other, man.
man, that's brutal.
Right?
Brutal. That's
Right?
brutal. Yeah. So what you're telling me
Um,
is I better have some damn good tackles, is what you're saying.
probably, probably, yeah, yeah. You better build the line. Hope you know linemen. Is all I gotta say.
Yeah,
And there's some great linemen that also
there are some.
like defensive tackles don't get enough love.
Yeah.
The big guys, right? You ever heard Madden call the plays on the big guys when they get the
Oh,
call
they're
for whatever
great.
reason?
They're great.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. Um, so that brings us to linebackers. So I've got, dude. I'm putting Jack Lambert in the middle.
That's solid. That's solid.
Um,
Jack Leonard was a mean son of a bitch, you
yeah,
know.
and there's a reason I put Jack Lambert in the middle. Uh, Jack Lambert was decent on interceptions for a linebacker
Yep.
in his day. But Jack Lambert was smash mouth, and I think in the middle, I think I'm gonna have to try to stop your running game, right?
Yeah.
And Lambert could do it. Um, not that the other linebackers I got in mind can't,
Right. Yeah,
but
no,
but
I
I
get it.
think but I think Lambert. My other 2 choices, I think Lambert is the least fast. That makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
And I would love to be able to the linebackers be able to get potentially a crossing receiver, something else, right? That's a
Sure.
speed game. I would like to have somebody some on the outsides, right, a little bit faster.
Sure. Yeah.
So with that in mind, on one side I go LT.
That was the one that I knew. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's the goat in my eyes, you know.
yeah, yeah. One side I go LT. The other I'm conflicted,
Yeah.
but man, I want somebody smash mouth
Mm-hmm.
for sure. And I think I go Ray Lewis, man.
So I am all for those 3. The only if I was to do it differently,
Yeah,
I'm all in on Lewis and I'm all in on LT. The 2, in my opinion, the 2 greatest linebackers of all time.
yeah.
What I would have done differently is I probably would have moved Ray Lewis to the middle and we got like a Derek Thomas on the outside, so that you had
Oh,
LT and Derek Thomas rushing the outside.
bit a lot more. Yeah, this is true.
But no,
Yeah.
but now you've got to have now you have to worry about Ray Lewis rushing from the outside and Jack Lambert just eating up everything in the, like you said, it's for the run game. And so
Well,
if you're trying to stop the run game, Jack Lambert is a good middle linebacker.
I think has the edge, right? Has the edge
Yeah,
on it. And
yeah,
keep in mind,
yeah.
your configuration can change. You could, we
This is
could
true. You
always,
can always put Lambert on the outside if you
yeah,
wanted to, and
depending
have Lewis up the middle.
on the play, you could shift around. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
So that brings us to cornerbacks, right?
I know one of them.
Um,
Maybe.
I don't think I think you do, but not the way I'm fixing to play this. I don't think.
Okay. All right. Go for it.
On one side, I want interception power for sure.
Sure.
I want to be able to force your run. I want to force your running game.
Sure. Yeah.
And have to deal with Lambert and my linebackers. Quite
Yeah.
honest.
Sure. Yeah.
And my defensive ends for that matter. I think I go Rod Woodson on one side.
Okay.
And the opposite side, I'm going old school, baby. I'm going Night Train.
You going Night Train? Interesting.
Well, Dick Lane, I think, on the other side at cornerback. Yeah, I think so. I think so.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait till
Pedigree.
you draft your safeties, and I'm gonna do your secondary as a whole. How about that?
Yeah, that'll work. As the um and in Night Train, I mean, Smash Mouth Arrow, which is awesome,
Yeah,
but high up on the interception
yeah,
pedigree as well, I think. Okay, so that pulls us to our safeties.
yeah.
Uh, Number one, dedicated safety, solid pick, I think, in my book. When you think safety, Ronnie Lott, got
I
to be
mean,
right,
yeah, yeah,
got to be there.
absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
Number two is where it gets interesting. Number two
Yeah.
is I'm going to pull a traditional cornerback to
You
safety.
gonna put Dion at safety?
Simply because I want some speed back there.
Interesting. Okay.
And yes, I pull Dion. I
Okay.
draft Dion and I pull him into from cornerback to safety.
Sure. No, no, no. I if you go secondary, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would have gone a different route. I understand why you went the way you went, right?
Mm-hmm.
I go Dion and Daryl Green at the corners.
Oh, yeah.
And then I go Ronnie Lott and Steve Atwater in the safeties and say, come
Atwater would
get
have
you
been a good
some.
one.
And say, come get you some, boys.
Yeah, Atwater would have been a good one. Yeah.
Here's the thing: we're splitting hairs, right? We're talking all Hall of Famers here, right? I mean, so
yeah.
Actually, I mean, pretty much you're talking. I'm talking caliber, right? You're talking Hall of Fame, whether they're in the Hall or not. All of these people,
I believe they are. I believe everybody is. Yeah.
I believe so. I believe so. But yeah, no, man. Putting Dion at safety is kind of like that center fielder saying, no matter which way you throw it, I can catch it. It's pretty smart.
Yeah. It gets some speed to get somebody to maybe one if because I think I'm lacking depending on the receivers, right? And I'm trying to hedge bets on. This is what's dangerous about going first. I'm trying to hedge bets on what your lineup is going to be.
No, exactly. No, I get it.
It's should I have a receiver get past a cornerback?
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have some speed in the deep secondary.
No. I'm not saying that I would have done anything. I mean, I 100% like the way you're going with it.
Dion is not a heavy hitter, but maybe he could get there and at least bat it down.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
So that's all you got to do. All you got to do is create another down. So,
this is true.
With that said, we've got. Let's go over it again one more time. We've got Cortez Kennedy, Warren Sapp, Reggie White, Bruce Smith up front.
Yep.
We got Ray Lewis, LT, and Lambert in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
We got Rod Woodson and Night Train at the corners, and Dion and Ronnie Lott in the deep end there. So, however you want to start out with this quarterback, I guess.
I'll start with the line. I'll start with the line.
Work your way out.
Yeah, work my way back then out. Receivers will probably be the last. How about that?
Right.
So at center, I'm going to go Jeff Saturday. Great center for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
Kind of changed the way that centers were before. They were just a guy that snapped it, and he kind of took over and made it to where he was calling a lot of the blocking coverage. He wasn't relying on the quarterback to call it. Saturday, Peyton trusted Saturday to call a lot of the blocking schemes from the line. So Saturday was a great center quarterback for the line, but he's going to go with my center. My two guards. I'm going to go Bruce Matthews.
Oh, solid. Yeah.
Bruce Matthews. Yeah. And Jonathan Ogden. Ogden played for the Ravens and Matthews played for a bunch. But I knew him mostly for, I would say, the Houston Oilers / Tennessee Titans. But he played for 20 years. So he played for several different teams.
Oh, yeah.
But those are my two guards. My two tackles are going to be Anthony Munoz and Larry Allen.
Okay. Okay.
I like Allen, and the only reason why I pick Allen is Allen was one of the undersized tackles, but he was quick and fast and could move. And knowing who you're bringing from the outside, whether it's Reggie White or LT or Ray Lewis, I need to have the tackles that aren't just big blockers; they're agile. If you would have said, Dick Butkus and some of the bigger, low-fear linebackers, I could have gone a different route. But Larry Allen and Munoz were big, but they weren't huge, but they were quick. They could move laterally. And with your pass rush coming from the corners and the outside with, Reggie White and LT and all these guys, and then Bruce Smith on the other side with Ray Lewis, I'm going to have some tackles, not only that can run block, but can handle the pressure from the corners. And I think those two can handle it.
Yeah. I would, that's a solid line. I would, I'm thinking on center, I'm thinking the versatility as a snapper of Dermonte Dawson.
Okay. I almost went with Mike Webster. Yeah.
Oh, that would be a good one. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm thinking deep snaps, straight to a running back, just weird situations. Yeah. But solid. You got a solid line. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not too worried with my defense, but you got a solid line.
No, I understand. I understand. So that's my line. My tight end. I'm going to go see. This is where it's going to be different. I want to pick a couple different players, but I'm going to need a tight end that can obviously catch and run, but I need someone that can still block when needed.
Big boy too, yeah.
Need a big boy. I was going to go Anthony Gonzalez, and I was going to go, and I would have been okay with that. But I'm going to go with. I'm going to show you where I'm from. I'm going to show you my age. I'm going with Jay Novacek.
Oh snap! That's who would be on my list, and here's why. First of all, tight ends. Look at the Hall of Fame. Look at anything. Tight ends get no love, right?
No
Would you agree
love.
with that? They get no love. Novacek would be on my list, and here's why. I think with the caliber of the lineup that we're talking about here, he would rise to that occasion because I think he probably should be in the Hall of Fame anyway.
I do too. That's just me. Yeah.
And he's a big old boy.
He's a big old boy. And here's the funny thing is he was drafted from Wyoming because, yes, he could catch, but he was a great run blocker. And people don't understand that, Emmitt Smith was a great running back, but he had Daryl Johnson as his fullback, and he had Jay Novacek on the tight end blocking. Novacek is not afraid. I mean, he was a rodeo cowboy. He was not afraid of contact. And on top of that, there's some great tight ends. I thought about Travis Kelce, who'd be the only current player that I would pick because he's a great tight end, but he doesn't block.
But then you got to deal with Taylor Swift up in the.
That's true, and trust me, I do not want to deal with that.
Right? Yeah.
So Jay Novacek's going to be my tight end. Now, what I am going to do is I know you said we're going to do a running back and fullback. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do two running backs instead of a fullback.
That's fine. You can move one to another position.
I can move one to another. But what I'm saying is I'm going to go a two-back system. It's just not going to be a fullback. We're still going to have a split-back system.
That's fine. Yeah.
All right. So my first running back is going to be Bo Jackson.
Solid.
He's big, he's strong, and he's fast. My second running, we're talking prime. Yeah, we're talking prime. Yeah. My second one, I almost went Jim Brown. Brown.
Right. Yeah.
Can you imagine having Bo Jackson and Jim Brown in the same backfield? But
I'll give you my dream backfield in a second. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to go Barry Sanders as my other back. I think the quickness, pick your poison. One of those two, Jackson and Barry Sanders, are not going to be off, every game. One of them's going to just be amazing, especially with that line and all of that. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Whatever you was.
I was going to say I had about 5 in my head.
Oh yeah.
That I was thinking about, the Marcus Allens, the Eric Dickersons, the Jim Browns of the world, but I went with Bo and Barry.
The problem, Barry's good at the juke and that sort of thing. I get it. Bo had some power. Bo was kind of hard to break down. But Bo reminded me in his prime a lot of Earl Campbell.
Yep.
And so, in thinking about this a little bit, not knowing if I was going to get offense or defense, I had pretty much come to the conclusion I was going Earl Campbell and Jim Brown. I was going to knock your freaking teeth in.
So I thought about Earl Campbell and Jim Brown, but the reason why I went with Bo and Barry is not only are they great backs, but they're both fast. But here's the thing: they can both catch the ball out of the backfield very well. And so you can run screenplays. You can run a lot of different things with Bo Jackson and Barry Sanders in the backfield. But yeah, if you would have said Jim Brown and Earl Campbell, Jesus.
But they got to get across the line of scrimmage, and that's the other part of that. Like, they catch the ball, be good at catching the ball in the backfield all day long. But if you linebackers, your ends, or whatever, But solid choices. I'm not.
Yeah, no. There's no really wrong answers.
Yeah. Now you got your air game.
Now I got my air game. So at quarterback, I'm going Peyton Manning. The guy is accurate.
That was unexpected.
It is unexpected. I didn't have it until about 10 seconds ago. I was going back and forth in my head. I'm going Peyton, one, because he can get us out of bad plays. You're going to have a great defense. He's going to be able to read the defense at the line of scrimmage and get us maybe out of some bad plays 2 or 3 or 4 times throughout the game and get us some positive yards just from being smart enough to look at your defense. He's accurate as hell. And more importantly, he's not one of those that has a favorite receiver. It's who's open. And hopefully I'm going to have someone open every time, right? So
right.
I'm gonna go with Peyton. Only because if it was just pure quarterbacking skills, people like the Brett Favre and all that. But here's the thing: I don't trust Brett Favre against your defense. Yeah. He's going to throw way too many interceptions, right? Yeah. Peyton's going to be able to see your defense and maybe figure something out. So that's where I'm going with Peyton. Yeah. Not saying that Peyton's the best quarterback ever, but I think in this situation, I think he's the best quarterback for this team.
Right.
So who's he going to throw the ball to?
Exactly. I've got some ideas where you might go.
Oh, I've got a bunch of ideas, but I'm just going to go with the obvious. I'm going Jerry Rice and Randy Moss.
that would be my short list. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, how can you say?
Thankfully, I've set up my secondary. And
you did. You did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. I mean, you're going to have Randy going down the field with maybe Dion over the top at safety trying to keep up with Randy and Dion. That'd be a hell of a matchup.
Yeah.
And then you have the best route runner in hands in the history of the game in Jerry Rice. So
yeah. But you're also talking about the pressure on the QB. Is it going to be the same throwing scenario if he's having to get rid of that ball quicker, right?
Well, I'm hoping that my all-world offensive line can give him at least 3 seconds or 2.5 seconds,
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yep.
So, yeah. Interesting.
That's solid.
Yeah.
So you covered a good portion of my short list for offense.
Yeah.
Quite honestly.
Nice.
So we were on the same page, and that just tells the pedigree. It speaks to the pedigree of some of these players,
Yeah, and Steve Largent's mentioned out there, and I could have gone Steve. I could have gone Lance Allworth, Bambi.
Yeah.
I could have gone Michael Irvin, the best possession third down receiver.
And Irvin's a big guy.
He's 6'4". Yeah,
so that would have been Irvin.
Great across the middle, maybe.
Yeah, Irvin would have given my guys fits. I think Irvin.
But I think Jay Novacek can fill that across the middle role.
I think so. And you went speed on the ends, and so
I went speed. Yeah, I went speed, and I had to have a tight end that could block also, at least chip and then break away.
Right.
Right. So yeah, no, I think that if someone's out there listening to this, draft those 2 teams, put it in Madden, and let us know who wins.
Yeah. It's a 0-0 tie in 8,000 overtimes. Probably,
exactly. Yeah.
Like
you probably play that game 10 times and it's 5-5.
I don't know. There can't be much yardage probably on that, and if there is, it's probably crazy yardage. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it's something freaked happened, and Randy Moss, like Dion slipped, and Randy Moss went down the sideline or something, or
right.
you know, Bo did something nuts, or you know, Barry was Barry, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Cool. We got to talk about EAA now.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
So, man, I'm working on a video now. Because there's been so many, handguns, and thankfully,
Yeah.
this year in 2023, and thankfully, a lot of them have been EAA, and
Yeah.
it's tough, man. I had to like come up with thinking about the best one out of, and it's like, holy moly, like,
Yeah, it's been a great year for him.
it's insane, just the amount of just boom, 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 amazing things. Whether we're talking about the MC14T, the tip up, which is sort of niche in a way.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Seen some comments on that. People hating on it a little bit. Will probably end up being the gun of the year, handgun of the year. I kind of think when we get around to NRA time next year. But I think that a lot of folks realize, and I think EA realized too, that it was a niche. It was covering, people that had trouble with manipulation and this, that, and the other. And a lot of the gripes I'm seeing on that is, "Ooh, there's no extractor." And it's like, well, how, if you've got an extractor that's hooked into a barrel, how are you going to tip up said barrel? Like,
Right.
hello, it doesn't work like that. If you can get over that engineering hurdle, then you need to freaking call Gerson or call EAA and let them
Then
know.
you just designed the handgun of the year.
Right? And I think that they would probably make that change to the handgun. If you can figure out a way to get an extractor in a chamber of a barrel and it still tip up, then groovy. So it's really silly, some of the arguments I see on that. But then you've got like the Gerson high power wasn't bad to the bone enough. Then the lightweight that's a half a pound lighter comes out. You're like, oh my God. And then the 2311 right on the heels of that. And it just, some sick stuff with EAA this year. And the best is yet to come in 24, I think.
Now, Ozzy out there says, was this the year of hammer fired guns? I don't know. I think that a little bit. I think what it was getting away from the plastic striker fire. Not necessarily to say, hey, we're going to go back to hammer. I think it was, all right, everything kind of goes in cycles. So the industry is cyclical. So they're not only going to hammer fire, but they're going to larger guns and the 2011 styles. And a lot of people are going to steel frame guns again and getting away from polymer. And so, I mean, I think it was, a rebirth of the steel frame hammer fired. Maybe not even steel frame hammer fire, just steel frame or hammer fire, but a lot of them are steel frame hammer fired,
Yeah, and if you're going metallic frame, and of course if you're talking about the 2311, of course, is the poly frame with steel upper, steel slide. But if you're especially with the Gerson high power with some of this other stuff that you see, the 1911s, the MC 1911 carry, for example, and some of this other stuff. If you're gonna go with metal frame anyway, an all metal frame striker fire, that's just kind of weird.
It's kind of strange,
and then obviously metal frame, you're not too terribly concerned with weight, so having the extra hammer or whatever, but one of the things that comes too, and I think people kind of realize is, people get used to their poly Wonder Nines or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean, how many of those are on the market that you can just, oh man, this one and this one and this one, and folks don't realize with the poly, Wonder Nines, and they may not be nines. I'm just using that as a catch-all term.
Sure. Yeah.
But folks don't realize that when you're dealing with striker fire, you're super limited as far as really with how good that trigger can be.
Yep.
Even if you're talking about something that you and I both love, which is the Walther PPQ.
That's right.
Which is
they figured it out.
It's a phenomenal trigger. But I've got mediocre hammer fire handguns that kick the dog snot out of the PPQ.
Sure. Absolutely.
And it's just because of the engineering, the mechanics.
And they should, yes, right?
Exactly right. Yeah. That's the thing. So I think that people, they may carry, a striker fire or something like that. And then they're looking for just something if they're at the range, hey, something extra, or maybe it's in the nightstand or whatever the case may be. And they play around with something hammer fire. And I think that a lot of times that's what gets them. They feel
Yeah.
that trigger on that hammer fire, again, even a mediocre hammer fired handgun. And they're like, holy crap, I didn't realize that a trigger could be this nice.
Well, and I think that's where people that are kind of converting to hammer fired from the striker world, and I'll use myself as an example. And do I have I had hammer fire guns? Sure. Do I love them? Yeah, I like certain ones, but forever, for years and years and years, I have been primarily that polymer striker fired guy, right? That's just what I enjoyed shooting. But I think what people are starting to realize is you can go find a PPQ, which is a phenomenal trigger. But when a hammer fired trigger breaks, if you can't tell the difference, then it shouldn't matter what you shoot at that point. When that hammer fire, when that trigger breaks, it is so crisp. Even like you said, even an average hammer fired trigger, when it breaks, it's going to be unbelievable. And I think that's where people are going, is the polymer nines, if you will, that everyone's been shooting for 10, 20 years, have its purpose. But I think now what people are they're saying, and if you remember 10 years ago, everyone was into the LCP and the Bodyguard, and let's get the smallest micro 380 we can carry. That was a big thing. Now everyone's carrying 1911s and 2011s now, and then the high powers, and they want to get that heavier, bigger gun to carry now. And now that people are willing, because all the companies went to, we got to get the perfect carry gun. We got to get the perfect carry gun. Well, that's a polymer 9 or 380 or whatever. And now that people are saying, you know what, I don't mind carrying a bigger gun, especially if I can get it in 10 millimeter, or if I can get a double stack 2311, and so that's opened up so many more things where now companies don't have to just do carry guns. They can say, hey, we can have our micro guns over here, but you know what? We can go back and bring out some great designs like the high power. We can make the high power lighter so that people can carry it. We can get the 2311 out. We can get the MC14 out. So, that's a 380, but it's a pretty big 380 to carry. But people aren't as worried about that. So I think that it just shows where the industry is going, is there's so many more options for these companies to go with now, that I think they're having fun. I know EAA's having fun, because not only do they have making great guns, but they've got their dealers like Davidson's or Shields or Sport South. They're doing like one-off like color designs that are, specific to those distributors. So EAA is not only just doing different guns, but they're saying, hey, we can do some cool designs and color schemes if you want to. So I think that's where people are going. They want almost like a customized gun now,
Right. So yeah, thanks to again powering us here, and you're up, man. Your topic.
I'm up. So we're gonna go top 5 guitarists.
Oh God.
Right. It's gonna be, there's a lot of them out there. So you don't have to go like from 5 to 1. I'm going to go 5 to 1 because I've got my list already, but you're just going to, maybe the top 5 in whatever order, that you would like. I'm going to get my pen and paper out here and take notes for this. But yeah, we're going to go guitarists, top 5 guitar players.
Let's do it.
So you're going to get your first pick.
Oh, I go first, huh?
Or you want me to go first and let you kind of
I tell you what, you let me go first earlier, so I will concede and let you go first.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you some time to kind of to go over it. I'm gonna go like I said, these are kind of be in order. So my number 5 is Tom Morello, and there might be some people that don't know. Tom Morello is a guitar player from Rage Against the Machine and then with Audioslave. And Audioslave was basically Rage Against the Machine with Chris Cornell as their lead singer. Same band, just different singer. But Tom Morello is a phenomenal guitar player, and this is back in the late 80s, early 90s. That when I heard Rage Against the Machine for the first time, I was like, oh my God, like who's that? So I'm gonna go with Tom Morello as my number 5.
Okay, so we're number 5.
You don't have to. I'm going from 5 to 1 because I've had time to put my list together. You can just do your 5, unless you want to go.
Yeah, I may go opposite direction, just simply that way.
Okay.
Don't take them up or whatever.
Yeah. But, so who's your number 1?
This is going to be out of the blue, and when I say the name, you'll understand why. And a lot of people out there listening probably will. I go Roy Clark, man.
That's a solid choice,
right?
Yep, that's a solid choice. Roy Clark, you guys need to go listen to some 70s country music and look up Hee Haw.
Anything with a string, as a matter of fact.
Well, this is true. Great fiddle player. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, banjo. Yeah.
Banjo, yep. That's solid. My number 4, Texas Flood, baby, going Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Gotta go Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's my number 4.
Gotta be on the list.
He's gotta be on the list, right? I don't care who's listed, he's gotta be on it, right?
If you hadn't have brought him up, I would have. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a Texas boy. You think I'm not going to bring up Stevie Ray Vaughan? Right. Especially I'm a Dallas boy. I got to bring up Stevie Ray Vaughan or I'll never be allowed back in the city, you know?
Yep.
All right. Who's your next one?
And
you can choose the same ones. You don't have, they're not off the board, right?
I'm going to split it up. I normally do, just so we got a variety. Folks out there listening, but this is not because of that. I don't have to copy you. I go Mark Knopfler, man.
He was so Mark is my number 6. He almost made it over Morello. So yeah. Dire Straits, folks, if you're out there, don't know who Mark Knopfler is, Dire Straits.
Yep.
So go listen to Sultans of Swing, and my favorite Dire Straits song is Brother in Arms, but I don't know about you, but that's not really a guitar song, but no, Knopfler was amazing. Mm-hmm. Amazing. My number 3 is Prince.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Prince gets I don't know a lot of people that are just maybe casual music listeners, I don't think may even know or they don't appreciate Prince as a musician, first of all. But a guitar player is unbelievable. But people don't realize on almost every single one of his albums that he ever recorded, he played every instrument. He hired a band to tour with, but he played every instrument on every song of every album he basically ever did. He did not have a band that he recorded with. It was him, which is incredible. But if you want to, I'm going to put it this way. If you want to, and you want to hear Prince's true genius of the guitar, just YouTube search Prince While My Guitar Gently Weeps. And it was a celebration of George Harrison's life when he died. And you had Jeff Lynne and George Harrison's son was up there. Clapton was up there. You had Tom Petty was up there. And when the solo came for While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Prince came on and shredded it. Probably maybe the greatest guitar solo I've ever seen. It's crazy. Yeah, Wood says when Clapton was asked what it's like being the best guitar player in the world, he answered, "You should go ask Prince." That is a true statement. That did actually happen.
Right.
The song Prince is my number 3. If that tells you anything.
Yeah. So number 3, Ozzy out there saying Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh had some.
Joe Walsh, great. Yeah. Eagles.
I'm gonna go outside the box for a lot of people again. Here, I'm gonna go Chet Atkins.
Ooh, that's another good one.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're talking about true. We're not talking about performer.
Rock and roll.
We're talking about guitar player here.
That's right.
That's what you said was guitar player.
Guitar.
So, right.
And for me, these aren't necessarily what I'm considering the best guitar players ever. These are my favorite guitar players.
Well, that's where I was kind of going with it.
It's a difference because Clapton and Hendrix and all of these guys, Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, like they would be on that list. But these are my favorite. B.B. King, another good one. Yeah.
Well, that's the difference, I guess, between some of yours and mine. I'm going with who I think is the most skilled.
Yeah, absolutely, and who I like. I'm thinking, I
like them. I like them too. But yeah,
for sure. So is my number 2, right? Yep. Yeah. My number 2 is Slash. I'm a huge GNR fan. There's something about Slash that it almost seems effortless with him, and I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of Slash. He's also widely considered in the music industry as one of the nicest guys in the music industry, which is kind of ironic when you're a bandmate with Axl, but he's a nice guy. The greatest story that I know about Slash is, if anyone knows anything about guitars, my favorite and one of the most iconic guitars ever is a 1959 Gibson Les Paul. And there was a guitar that Duane Allman had for the Allman Brothers, great guitar player. And then it became Joe Perry's from Aerosmith in the 70s. And by 1981, when Aerosmith kind of fell off there for a while, Joe Perry was needing money, and he sold his 1959 Gibson Les Paul that was Duane Allman's for $8,000. And a few years later, it went up, and the guy that bought it from Joe Perry, I don't know who that was, they never said, needed money and was in Japan and ran into Slash and asked if he would want to buy it. And he did. He bought it for $8,500. That guitar is worth over $1 million now.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because now adding Slash to that provenance, But here's a cool thing. So when Joe Perry found out that Slash had it, now this is 86, 87, 88, 89, whenever, when Aerosmith kind of had their comeback, he contacts Slash and asked if he could buy it back from him. And Slash was like, I knew you were going to do this. No, because Joe Perry was Slash's influence, one of his major influences. So that's why he bought it. And so Joe Perry kept calling and kept calling. Finally, he says, look, I'm not going to ask you again because I don't want our friendship to be ruined over this guitar. Yeah. Needless to say, if you ever do want to sell it, please let me be your first phone call. At least give me the first opportunity to buy it back from you. He's like, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So Joe Perry turns 50 years old. They're doing a big celebration, and he gets Cheap Trick to come up on stage with them to play a couple songs. And he walks on stage. His guitar guy brings out the 59 Les Paul. And he said, by the way, Slash said happy birthday. And he gave it back to him for free. Gave it to him.
Awesome. That's awesome.
It's $1 million guitar. That kind of person about Slash right there. If you knew nothing else about Slash, take the music aside. That's a pretty cool story,
But so let's be honest, $1 million to Slash. I mean, I'm not taking away.
I get it, but it's also like this iconic guitar,
That's like, it's significant. Don't get me wrong, but that would be like $100 between us.
No, I get it. I get it. But here's the thing. Slash could offer Joe Perry $10 million right now, and Joe probably doesn't sell it back to him. Yeah. So it's almost a priceless guitar.
Right.
Now here's the thing. I was telling that story to my wife a few nights ago. We were talking about it. And because I'm looking at getting a 59 Les Paul replica, right? Because that's my favorite guitar of all time. Anyways, she said, do you think that the Aerosmith guy would will it back to Slash when he dies? Or at least to Slash's family? And I said, I don't know, but that'd be kind of cool if he did, say, hey, you had this, I'm gonna give it back to you. And I don't know, but that'd be kind of cool if it does,
Yeah, I think that'd be fair. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, sorry. C-Far says, I do love Slash behind Prince, though. I get it. No, I get it. It's a tough one. Your fourth pick.
Carlos Santana.
Oh, that's a good one. Little Black Magic Woman.
Mhm.
That's a good one. You know, the funny thing about Carlos Santana is he's obviously a very famous guitar player, a famous musician, but most of the songs that he's famous for, he didn't sing in. He just played the guitar in. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yep.
Like,
Exactly.
you know, most of those songs, he was just the guitar. He hired friends and good and great singers to sing the song, but it's a Santana song, but he's just the one playing the guitar, which is
Right.
phenomenal, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. I
Wood
know.
says Les Paul is pretty good as well. That's true. Les Paul
Yes.
was. There's a reason why, you know.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I'll tell you what, I don't remember his wife's name off the top of my head, but his wife was no slouch. You know,
Who,
for
Les
sure.
Paul?
Yeah. Who's Les Paul's wife? Mary Ford.
Mary Ford. Yep.
Yeah. Took me a minute. Mary Ford. Yeah.
Yep.
Was no slouch at guitar for sure.
Yep. Um. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
One more.
One more. So if you guys, once again, you know, this is not saying that I think these are the best. These are my favorite guitar players,
I'm saying the
and
best.
well, and these are
I was
all,
putting it out there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Mine are sitting there. You're telling me, you know, these are all great guitar players, but these are my favorite guitar players to listen to. And obviously, they
Right.
have to be great to be on this list to begin with, right?
This is true. Yeah.
But my number one guitar player ever of all time probably comes to no surprise to a lot of you out there that know me, but it's David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. I'm a big when I started playing guitar when I was like 11, I played 10, I think 10, and I played for a few years, and then I started playing the drums. But put it this way, my first guitar was a black Strat. Obviously not his, but it was a black Strat because of David Gilmour. Great guitar player, some of the most iconic solos ever in music. And people, I think several magazines, including Rolling Stone, has rated the Comfortably Numb solo as the number one solo in the history of music. But no, David Gilmour, understand that I found Pink Floyd when I was 5 years old. And I was completely entranced with Pink Floyd, listening to Dark Side of the Moon and then The Wall and Animals and Wish You Were Here. Those albums, those 4 albums in a row were unbelievable. And to this very day, I can just throw on Dark Side of the Moon and just be happy for an hour and just listen to David Gilmour. So for me, David Gilmour is my favorite, in my eyes, the number one guitar player ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, who you got?
Well, my list has went the opposite direction.
It has, yeah.
More or less.
You've got Roy Clark, Mark Knopfler, Chet Atkins, and Carlos Santana.
Carlos Santana, and I think I'm going to round it out with Stevie Vai.
That's a great one, Steve Vai. Oh man, Scythe threw out there Kenny Wayne Shepherd. I forgot about Kenny Wayne Shepherd. If you remember the 90s, he had a couple of, man, Kenny Wayne was really good for a young kid, man.
Yep.
Really good for a young kid. Yeah, he's saying Clapton, Hendrix, Stevie Ray, Gilmour, and Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Kenny Wayne Shepherd. I forgot about that kid. Yep. That's a solid list. Yeah, solid list. So your list: Roy Clark, Mark Knopfler, Chet Atkins, Carlos Santana, and Steve Vai. Mine from 5 to 1 is Tom Morello, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Prince, Slash, and David Gilmour. Both lists, I think that covers a wide spectrum of guitar heroes, if you will. And we're not talking the ones of the Jeff Becks, the Claptons, the Hendrix, the Eddie Van Halens, you know, the people that are considered by most as the greatest ones.
Oh, yeah.
These are some names that outside of those givens that you might want to go check out.
Yeah.
Especially Clover's list. That's some really, you pulled a couple names out there that I would have never thought of.
My list, and I usually try to do that. I try to think a little outside the box and to give people some things to go, who the crap was that? Go look it up, look at some stuff. You know, if you genuinely like guitar picking, then
Yeah.
my list is those dudes can pick a guitar. Let me tell you. So
I'll tell you another one
all the way down.
for modern country music. Brad Paisley's a hell of a guitar player.
Oh, Brad Paisley. I'll tell you what, Keith Urban is not too shabby.
Keith Urban, Vince Gill is a great guitar player.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ricky Skaggs was
Ricky Skaggs. Well, Ricky Skaggs can play anything. He's a Roy Clark. Yeah,
Roy Clark Jr. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, grow up. You grow up like that in the South, whatever, playing bluegrass, and you pretty much learn everything with strings at that point.
Everything and stuff without strings too.
Well, which is true. Yeah, this is true.
So yeah, we are going to the last topic. So if you guys are out there, we're gonna Clover's gonna bring up the random. Huh?
I said I'm working on it now.
Yeah, so he's gonna bring that. We're gonna give you guys about 30 more seconds or so. If you're out there and you haven't said anything in the chat, go ahead and say something because that will get you entered into this. And we're gonna draw. And whoever name it draws, you get to give us a topic. We will talk about anything and everything as long as it will not get us kicked off of YouTube or the podcast platforms. So get your thinking caps on. Get creative.
Yeah. And answer quickly when we draw your name too.
This is true too. Yeah.
We are in the audio podcast replay world, and silence is not a good thing. And real quick before we draw, because we're final seconds here, we're about to hit the button. But for this particular segment, the entirety of we decided earlier for those that came in late, the entirety of the last episode of the year, which will be next Sunday, the entirety of the episode will be completely 3 topics viewer driven. So
all 3 topics will be by you guys.
Show up early and and often. So let's draw this.
Let's see what's out there. No whammies.
Probably not, which would be me or you, basically.
Yep. And we had a whammy.
What a cheat. I'll draw again.
I'll draw again.
My topic, no, I'm not doing another topic.
We already did your topic.
I'm not doing it. Woods just commented. So Woods, in post-haste fashion, my friend, he commented just a couple minutes ago.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
In post-haste fashion, give us a topic, please, Mr. Woods, and we will move forward. This segment, while we wait, brought to you by our good friends over at Taurus. I bloviated forever about EAA. You can bloviate about Taurus now, maybe.
Yeah, so obviously their striker fire game has come a long way in the last few years with the G3. I start with the G2. The G2 wasn't bad. The G3 took it to a whole nother level, and now the G4, the G4X are taking it. So their striker games come a long, long way. Obviously, the PT92 has been around for a while. The revolver game's pretty solid. Great stuff. Clover, you can talk more about the Rossi side and stuff like that and the revolvers. But yeah, I've really enjoyed the last couple years of their striker fire game. It's come a long way. And it's one of those things where you can definitely sit there, and I don't feel uncomfortable saying, hey, if I've only got a few $100s, what's a good quality handgun for that $300 or less frame? I'm going to sit there and say you need to look at the G3 or the GX4 from Taurus. I think that's a solid gun. They come a long way in the striker fire game. But the TX22 is great out there, She-Fire says. And the revolvers are solid. The PT92 is solid. But they've got a couple of companies that aren't just handgunned under the Taurus International umbrella as well.
No, I agree. I've said it a bunch of times. I'm not a big fan of the TX22, but with when it comes to Taurus, I lean more into the revolver thing. Real quick, we're drawing again. Woods
hadn't said anything. Yeah,
entirely too long, which is crazy because he just commented. So let's draw again, and then we'll lament a little more about Taurus. Let's see who we got. Gizzard Gary.
Lizard Larry. If Lizard Larry's out there, I haven't seen him comment in a while, but he might just be sitting there hanging out and talking.
We'll give Gizzard Gary out there, if you're out there, Gizzard, listening, about 30 seconds or so. But yeah, the what am I thinking?
Revolver games where you ended up.
It was, but I was going to go a different direction with that and say that the copycat line, right?
Oh
With
yeah,
the
sure.
1911s and 92s. I mean, they're starting to bring some of that back again, and that kind of
Yep.
goes into what was it, Ozzy earlier that was talking about, like the
Yep.
Hammerfire game and stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting to see. I would like to maybe compare those at some point because I do have some of the PT 1911s, PT 92s, and how do they compare? Have they improved on anything, right? Or
You would think they would,
or they
right? I
do
mean, you
better?
would think.
Yeah.
Who knows? Iron Horseman. Go ahead and draw
All
another
right.
one. I guess Gary's not
I'm
there, but he's
drawing
doing. I'll answer this question. Iron Horseman says, "I wish Taurus made a 380 version of the GX4. You never know what's getting ready to come up in the next month, man. You never know. SHOT Show coming. There could be some cool stuff. I got another whammy. I've already done my topic. Let's draw again.
Wow, not a good time for the drawing. So I don't know
No.
what we may have to do next season. FW
Sykes.
Sykes,
Oh, I
he
know he's
is
out there. He just sends in
now
like
commenting. And I
literally
think he's had a
10
topic
minutes.
before. So, Sykes,
Yep.
you need to give us a topic post haste, my friend.
Yep.
So while Sykes is out there doing that,
Yeah.
what we may need to do for the 24 season of this is actually not run the comic collector until we call for it, and then that way we've got
That's
maybe
true.
people that
Yeah.
are current
Right there. Yeah.
in the chat. Yeah.
Oh, he says hammer fired versus striker fired.
So let's do this.
Clover and I can have fun with this because this could be good for us.
Let's do it.
Do you want to take hammer fired or do you want to take striker fired? Or you want to talk a little bit about both?
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna come down on the position of striker, and why don't you come down on the position of hammer? That could be fun.
Yeah. So most of you that know, for me, I learned to shoot a handgun on the Beretta M9, which is the 92. That's the first handgun I ever shot. That's the first one. And obviously a hammer fired gun. Great gun in my eyes. Some people may disagree with that, but I love that gun. But then for the next forever long, I was really into the Striker 9 game. And most of the guns that I had there for a long time were Striker fired polymer 9mm. I'm not saying that I didn't have others, but those are the majority. In the last 2 or 3 years, and I'll tell you, the gun that kind of brought me back was the Ronin from Springfield, that 10mm 1911 I got a few years ago. Beautiful gun, but I enjoyed shooting it, and I had forgotten how much I enjoyed hammer fired guns. And ironically, over the last few years, most of the guns that I have gotten have been hammer fired, whether it's 1911s or high powers or whatever. There's not high powers, but 1911s, and we've had the Lionhearts, had some stuff from Global Ordnance from the Grand Power line that have come in. We've had a lot of hammer fired guys come in, and like I said earlier, I you shoot them, but you kind of forget sometimes the triggers. You tend to forget sometimes the weight, because for so long you were trying to get to the lightweight gun that you could get, the smallest and the lightest weight gun. And there's something to be said, especially for me in the last few years. I've gone back and really have enjoyed the full size, heavy steel frame guns with a hammer fired and a trigger. So I think that if you're looking for a really stable gun that's going to have a lot of girth to it, that's going to be feeling good in your hands, going to shoot great, more of a full-size gun with a phenomenal trigger, then you need to go hammer fired, because that's exactly what you're describing. So I'm really happy in the last few years for me that my love for hammer fired has kind of come back, and I've enjoyed a lot of the hammer fire stuff I've gotten the last few years. They're just great shooting guns. So you're gonna defend the striker fired, huh? Interesting.
More or less. I'm gonna come down on and talk about my experience with that, and I'll probably tell a story, since Sykes is the one that answered this question, and I'm pretty confident in saying he's never heard this story. A lot of you out there probably have, but I grew up obviously, hammer fired was the
Yeah.
thing, like striker fire. I mean, Glocks eventually caught on, and then the Smith and Wessons and the other things. But I was well grown by that time, so I was so accustomed to hammer fired. Um, some of the things in my story relates to this. I'll get to the story in a second, but the the thing about striker fire is you're able to get them more compact. You're able to get less parts. You're able to get, all. Now you give up a lot, right? You
You
give up
do.
the
Yeah.
weight, you
Sure.
give up capacity often, you give up other things. But uh, the nice trigger, for example, but you've got some added safety measures you can incorporate. There's a lot of positives to the striker fire. Um, and my story speaks to some of that. And striker fire, whether you like it or not, right? Pretty much the striker fire stems from the Glock. I mean,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's striker fire doesn't have the prevalence it has today without the Glock, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Whether you love them or hate them. And so we were out on the range one day and doing the 4-H thing, and big, huge area. I don't even know how big that 4-H range was, and dozens, hundreds, whatever of kids. And so it was a buddy of mine, and he always gave me crap for the Glock 42, carrying the Glock 42.
Really?
Carried,
Was
yeah,
it the Glock or was it the 42, like the actual 42?
I think it was a little bit of both, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And you got to realize the Glock 42 had just came out. I'm a big 380 fan. A lot
Yeah.
of folks know that. And the Glock 42 just came out, so it's not like I chose it over the 49 or anything like that. It just came out, picked it up. I still love it to this day. Still primary carry to this day. But I hadn't had it too terribly long at that point. And he'd always give me crap, and he carried a little, compact size, whatever you want to call that, 1911, right? Colt at
Sure.
that. Always gave me crap. So we're on the range one day, and this kid's hollering snake, and so we take off running, and he's ahead of me by, I don't know, 10 or 12 maybe steps, right?
Right.
He gets there. He's pretty much drawn by the time he gets there. Click. I see him rack the slide. Click. I see him rack the slide. Click. I run up, no hesitation. I don't say a word. One smooth motion. Pull the 42. Pop. Pop. Cut the snake in half. It's over with. And all I did is I turned to him and I said, "How's that 1911 working out for you?" Holstered my Glock 42 and went back to the range.
Wow. Mic drop it on him.
Yeah, yeah. And we had a conversation later. Subsequently, not long after that, he bought a Glock 22 from me. So,
Of course he did. Sure.
but that speaks to, I carried in the same conditions, right? The same
Yeah.
weather, the same humidity, the same, basically the clothes, the same everything that he did. And, it was his fault. Don't get me wrong. He took that home later and tore it down and cleaned it all good. And then it ran like a champ after that, right?
Yeah. Sure.
But he just neglected some of the cleaning and maintenance and other things. So, when we talk about hammer fire, striker fire is much more forgiving. Kind of is
Yeah.
the point
It
and the
is.
moral of that story, I think. And so I'm a big proponent with both of our sides and
Oh
going to
yeah.
bat for each one. I'm a proponent that you need both.
Yes. You need.
and
Yes.
probably many of both, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. So are you telling me that sometime down the line there could be a video coming from CloverTac called the Snake Killer?
The Snake Killer? Oh my God!
You got to do a Glock 42 video with called the Snake Killer.
Yeah, I've told that story I don't know how many times.
I know.
But yeah. Sykes out there. Thanks for the topic, by the way, Sykes.
Absolutely.
Says
Yep.
Glock's only pistol I will 100% trust my life to. Yeah. They're pretty much gonna go bang, even if you find them under a foot of snow. That's my other
This
Glock
is true.
story.
Or 6 inches of mud.
Oh,
I've
this
had
is
that.
true. Yeah,
I've
you've had that happen. Yeah.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thanks, Snooks.
yeah, let's close this one out, man. We're running a little bit
Yeah,
late.
thanks everybody out there. We want to thank everybody for always supporting the channel. Thank you to all of our channel members. For both of us, we thank you so much. You guys don't know how much it means to us to have someone that supports the channel like that. Most importantly, thanks for just supporting by watching, viewing, sharing, all of that stuff. As much as we appreciate you supporting us, we do ask you to go and support our sponsors, whether it's EAA and Taurus. And you don't have to go and buy anything. Obviously, it would be great if you went and bought something and you mentioned Ghost and Clover to them. More importantly, if you just want to go to their social media and leave a comment on one of their posts saying, hey, thanks for supporting the Ghost and Clover podcast. We really do appreciate that. This lets them know that people are thankful for what they do for our industry and for us as well. More importantly, guys, we want you to understand that we are not going to be doing a show 2 weeks from now. It's Christmas Eve. So our season 1 finale will be next weekend at 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern. And like Clover said, all 3 segments will be viewer picked. We will not bring our own. All 3 will be from you guys. So make sure you check that out. You got anything else?
No, man.
How's your head? You got a headache or something? You good?
Hallelujah. Where's the Tylenol? Right?
You'll shoot your eye out.